Evening, Littleton. Welcome to the March 13th, 2024 Board of Health meeting. It is now 7 o'clock, and our first order of business is listed as a public hearing, but really is just an introduction, a first welcome for a couple members of the board. I apologize, I haven't got to meet you in person yet, in your new role yet. I've met you in person, but not in your new role. Francis Daigle is Littleton's new Director of Health. I was about to say public health, but it's Director of Health, I believe, is our official title. So we are happy and proud and excited to have you joining our community. You started on Monday, so this is day 3, and you're already staying late. Sorry. So before we get too far into it, I do want to share with the board members as well as the community. We do have a hard stop at 8 o'clock, so we're going to do our best to be timely as we can tonight for any actionable items. The agenda is relatively light, it looks like this evening, although we never know, so just be aware. So let's start with Francis. Welcome, and if you have anything you'd like to say to introduce yourself to the board members who haven't met you or the community, this is your opportunity.
Yeah. Hi, Gino.
Hello.
I'm sure I'll meet you one of these days soon.
Well,
yeah.
so we are very happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you. It's been an interesting first week. Just for public consumption. So I am the recently hired health director for the town. This was done in an effort to transition from a regional model to a local service model. So over the next couple months, the Department of Health will be reestablished in the town. We'll most likely be meeting with multiple stakeholders to talk about how we can enhance services in the town that are currently being provided and how we can collectively come to consensus on new programming that the town might need, want to look further into. So it's an interesting time to be in the health department in Littleton. I think we're going to grow a lot in the next year, and it's exciting to work with the board to see where that will go.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions from the board for do you prefer Francis? Do you prefer something else? Mr.
Francis
Daigle?
is fine as long as it's not curse words. It's good.
Having been an emergency department nurse and a paramedic for a long time, I understand that feeling. So, Mr. Baker, go ahead.
I just wanted to welcome Francis to the team, and we're very grateful to have you here. Thank you so much. We look forward to all the great progress we look to make and working as a team together. Let us know how we can help you, and we can set times to meet and make things as efficient as possible for you. So thanks.
All right, awesome. All right. If we're good, we are going to move to our 7:05 hearing, actually on time. Actually, my computer says 7:03. I'm going to risk that we're going to start a hair early. I'm hoping everyone's going to be okay with that. For 42 George Street with a variance request for groundwater offset reduction. I do have 2 folks in the attending panel list. If one of you or both of you are here for 42 George Street, thank you very much for raising your hand. We're going to promote you to the panel.
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Carloni. Are you here for 42 George Street?
I sure am.
All right, we're going to let you start the discussion of telling us a story about what you need, what you're looking for, and have some notes from our director and from Jim, the health agent from Neshoba. We'll go to the board, and you know the routine.
Okay, perfect. Would you like me to screen share the plan?
If you could, that would be great.
Okay. All right. Everybody see that okay?
We can.
All right, great. So 42 George Street, it's an existing 3-bedroom home, failed system. It's in a neighborhood with, that's definitely known for high groundwater. We were, let's see, what we're requesting here is we're using a geomat system with the intent to minimize the mounding. We're in the backyard, and we would like to keep the backyard as user friendly as possible. So the geomat is proposed not only for the 2-foot offset, which is allowed via the approval letter, the remedial use approval letter, but also it's relatively low profile. So that's the reasoning behind the geomat system. The next request is in regards to the high groundwater elevation in relation to the invert and the inverts of the inlets and outlets of the tanks. Reduction from the required 12 inches to right around an inch. With those tanks, we're proposing them to be H20, full H20, and going to ensure that they're hydraulically sealed at all the inlets and outlets. Dan, I see it. You're muted.
I realize it too. I was about to say, Mr. Carloni's gone on mute, so I'd say he's completed his presentation. We're not going to throw Francis under the bus on day 3 here for presenting some feedback, but obviously it's welcome. But I am going to present Jim Gareffi, our Neshoba agent's notes. He's unfortunately unable to be here this evening, so I will read his notes for the board's consumption and public. So 42 George Street. The sewage disposal system for this property is in failure based on the seasonal high groundwater table. Soil testing was conducted on the site, and the results showed the groundwater table to be high, 18 inches below grade, and the soil was consistent with the previous perk rate of 27 minutes per inch. The site is essentially flat. This lot presents the following challenges for the replacement of the sewage disposal system: high groundwater table, high perk rate, flat lot, and the elevation of the existing building sewer line. It looks like the line comes out under the slab floor of the house and therefore cannot be raised. The applicant is proposing to install a new septic tank, pump chamber, and a geomat leaching area. In order to minimize the runoff into abutting lots, the applicant is requesting board approval for a 2-foot groundwater reduction from the leaching area, allowed by DEP approval of the geomat system. In addition, because of the elevation of the building sewer line and the high groundwater, the applicant is requesting a local upgrade approval to allow reduction of the groundwater offset for the tank outlet inverts to the high groundwater table. Inverts to the high groundwater table, less than 1 inch when groundwater is determined by a soil evaluator. The site is small and has a number of challenges to the installation of a fully compliant system, and I believe this design represents a reasonable approach to replace this failed system. Given the high groundwater table, I would recommend the use of monolithic tanks equipped with cast-in rubber boots to the inlet and outlet inverts of the tank. With that, I'm going to open it up to the board. We'll go alphabetical. Kevin Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think as long as the boots are cast in and everything is sealed up with the monolithic tanks, we've done this before. And I don't see any other way to get this one in there. No more questions.
Mr. Fratelloni, any questions?
Well, it seemed like he told whatever he had to tell here. I don't think I have any problem. But with the groundwater offset, I think it'll be okay.
All right, thank you, sir. And the chair, I think Mr. Baker already said, just making sure we have our monolithic tank and rubber boots and watertight, which has already been discussed. The chair has no questions at this point. I'm looking at the audience. I do not have any hands up for public comment for this one. So any discussion from the board from Mr. Daigle, or if none, then I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the request for the grounding water. Motion.
I'll second that motion to grant the variance for 1 inch separation from the inlet and outlet inverts of the septic tank as presented.
and 2 foot reduction.
And the
associated
2
with
foot
the GMAT.
reduction in the groundwater offset. Yeah.
Right.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion on the motion before we vote? Seeing none, roll call vote. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Jennifer Loney vote yes.
and the chair votes yes. The groundwater offset and the reduction from 12 inches to approximately 1 inch for the inlet outlet offset are granted. Good luck with the install.
Thank you very much all for your time. Have a great night.
Thanks, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, we are a moment or two ahead. My clock says 7:11 for our 7:15 hearing. I'm going to not skip ahead on items, but just for informational. I believe Brenda was still working this afternoon on the 2/28/24 minutes. So if it's acceptable to the board, I'm going to ask that we table approval of those until our next one, just so everyone has a chance to review them. I'll be honest that I have not had a chance to review them between late this afternoon and now. So if everyone's comfortable with that, we will just table our 2/28/24 minutes until our next meeting for their
Yes,
review.
sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. We don't have Dr. Wason here this evening for the ID decision support tool update. I have not seen his numbers for this week. Take a quick peek right now for the state numbers. Obviously, the state numbers are for us almost 2 weeks behind. They report out on Thursday and we meet on Wednesday. So the last set of numbers came out last Thursday for the previous week around COVID. And there were almost 1,500 new coronavirus cases for the week of February 18 to February 24, and 12 deaths for that week. So as we said, for very many weeks now, that it is still out there. Be thoughtful, be careful. If you are immunocompromised or any other high risk group, please be careful and use good judgment. If you have not gotten a booster vaccination, consider it. We're coming up to the end of flu season. Our flu numbers have been dropping off, as well as RSV numbers. So those are both good things. But as always, try to keep yourself safe. Emergency departments in our area are at capacity most of the time these days. So if you do not need an emergency department for emergency department level care, consider alternative sites and venues for care, primary care offices, urgent care, minute clinics. If you can, virtual visits, utilize those for anything that is not truly an emergency, to certainly help support our emergency department providers and make sure that we have space and resources available for those who truly need it. All right, I have now vamped long enough for 7:15. So for our 7:15 hearing, we have a subdivision review for 95 Taylor Street. And I would say we have Mr. Kirschner here representing Staminsky and McCary, presenting on the subdivision plan. Is that correct?
Yes, I am here for the project at 95 Taylor. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the subdivision, the plan, and anything you think we should know?
Okay. I'm going to share my screen because I think it might be a little bit easier to see what I'm talking about. So,
Yep, no, that's very helpful. Thank you, sir.
Yep. So 95 Taylor Street is located on Taylor Street. It is adjacent to Beaver Brook. So I have the subdivision plan up on the screen here, trying to zoom in on the locust drawing here to see a little bit of the context. So Taylor Street's right here. We have Whitcomb over here, Porter Road down to the south, and this is the subject parcel. So Beaver Brook runs along in between Whitcomb Ave and Taylor Street, and the subject property butts right up against it. So I'm going to go to our existing conditions plan. I have condensed the view down a little bit, so Beaver Brook is actually off of the screen here. But 95 Taylor Street currently has a house very close to Taylor Street, and then a lot of open space to the rear. These dark dashed lines you can see here are actually the 200-foot offset to Beaver Brook. This is the 100-foot offset to Beaver Brook. And this dotted line, which is much more faint, is the 100-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetlands that are adjacent to Beaver Brook. So those are some of the constraints for this subdivision in general, but also for the proposed septic systems that will serve the dwellings that we are proposing as part of this project. So now I'm flipping to our record plan. So this is to show the actual legal layout of these proposed lots. You can see we have a proposed right-of-way towards the front of the site, and then 3 lots with frontage off of this proposed roadway. Lot 2 is a frontage exception lot, so it actually has less than the typical minimum required frontage, but it has more than double the area, and it can accommodate a 150 by 150 foot box. So this is allowed. However, that will be verified by the planning board once we go before them in April. Next, I'm going to show you our site development plan. So we're showing our proposed right-of-way and our proposed lot layouts with conceptual house boxes, driveways, and septic systems. So this these properties as part of the subdivision will be served by town water, so there will be no on-site wells. There is no sewer available, so we are proposing septic systems. I've been out here a couple times with Jim Greffy to do soil testing for these proposed house lots. You might be able to see, I'm actually going to switch back to the existing conditions plan for a second. You can see we've tested over a lot of the site, and it's sand everywhere. This property was historically used as a gravel pit. As I understand it, it was cut out in order to help build 495. So the somewhat unusual topography that you may notice based off of the contours we're showing on this plan is a result of those historic mining operations. And the test pits that we dug out here with Jim, you know, I can certainly see why they wanted that material, because it's great. All less than 2 minute per inch perks. Despite all of the cut that was taken out of here at some point in the past, groundwater is very deep. In fact, I think maybe only 1 or 2 test pits I actually saw any models down here close to this lot line over here. I think it's test pit 20 that we saw some modeling about 9.5 feet down. But the remainder of these test pits were dry with no evidence of high water. So each of these lots has a conceptual leach field shown on the plan. I'll just go clockwise. Starting at lot 1, we have one shown in the back here. Lot 2, we have an area shown to the rear of this house, and lot 3, we have one shown in front of this house. These layouts are conceptual. We still will need permits from the Board of Health for the individual septic systems. We will need to fully design systems in order to receive those permits, which we are still working on. We have not submitted those at this time, but they will be coming soon. So I think that we've done enough testing out here to demonstrate that the soil here is conducive to the construction of septic systems in accordance with Title V and the local regs. But that will certainly be verified once we submit real design plans. So I don't know if you want me to take this off my screen so you can see my face, but if you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you take it down for the moment? If you would mind just having your finger on the share button in case somebody has a question, we need to bring it back up. Thank you, sir. All right, so before we go to the board and any public comment, I'm going to read Jim directly from Neshoba Associated Boards, his comments. And a reminder for the board and the public that for subdivision approval discussions for the Board of Health, it really is around public health, sanitation, water, a public health perspective. It's not a aesthetic or any other piece, which is why it also goes through planning board. So we basically can set conditions, limitations, or concerns, which then the planning board needs to take into account as part of their process. So, but our perspective is really just from the public health perspective. So Jim's notes for 95 Taylor Street subdivision approval. I reviewed the subdivision plan for 95 Taylor Street. The proposed subdivision will create 3 lots from the existing property. Soil testing has been done on the property and good soil conditions were found. Sandy, gravelly soil with perk rates less than 2 minutes per inch. Seasonal high groundwater table noted on site will allow for the installation of leaching areas with minimal fill. The site is in the zone 2 of a public water supply well, and this will require each lot in the subdivision to have 10,000 square feet of land area for each bedroom in the proposed houses on these lots. The material from the applicant's engineer state the proposed houses will contain 5 bedrooms. Based on my review of the plan, one of the lots will not contain enough land to comply with the nitrogen loading standards based on the proposed house size. There is enough land in the development, so the applicant has the following options. 1, the proposed house on the undersized lot can be reduced to a 4-bedroom dwelling. The land can be added to the undersized lot to create the minimum lot size needed. Or number 3, the applicant can request approval of a nitrogen aggregation plan from the board. This process is allowed by DEP. A legal encumbrance is created between lots to ensure nitrogen loading standards are met. Based on my review of the lot and the soil evaluation holes, I did not find any issues with the lot or the test results which could be injurious to the public health and safety, except for the need to address the undersized lot mentioned previously. The proposed leaching area will be placed in excess of 100 feet from the wetlands, and the leaching areas will be designed with a 5-foot groundwater offset. Proposed plan indicate the surface water will be addressed with swales, stone infiltration trenches, and subsurface chambers to handle the roof runoff. Other concerns appear to be addressed in the engineer's narrative for the site regarding dust and stabilization of disturbed areas to minimize dust. I do not see an issue with approving the subdivision with the following conditions. The applicant must address the nitrogen loading question to ensure all proposed lot will meet the nitrogen loading requirements. 2, the activity on the site shall not create dust, odor, or noise which would create a condition of air pollution in accordance with 310 CMR 7.00 air pollution regulations. 3, no wood waste shall be buried on site. All stumps and slash shall be disposed of properly. 4, all detention and retention basins shall minimize standing water. And 5, the proposed sewage disposal system shall be designed in compliance with Title V and the Littleton Board of Health regulations, and a permit for each system must be issued by the Board of Health. I'll now go to the board for any questions or comments. Kevin Baker.
Hi. I think Jim has done a great job of laying out what the applicant needs to do in regards to meet the nitrogen loading requirements. So we'll leave that up to the applicant as to which path forward they would like to take. And as long as they adhere to the other guidelines of minimizing dust creation and not burying any wood debris, etc., I don't see an issue with any of this.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Fratelloni.
Yeah, I concur with Kevin. The question is, there's a 3 lots and they have enough land. I hope they follow through the gesture that Jim wrote to you, and that will be no problem.
Okay, thank you very much. And from the chair, it looked like, yeah, one of the lots, that middle lot, I think it was lot 2, was about 40,000 square feet, which I think was the lot that was generating concern. But it looks
Yeah.
like the total area of the space is something like 300,000 square feet or something. It's a pretty large piece
Yeah,
altogether.
Yeah. As long as they do a good job, we have no problem.
All right. I see no one in the audience for any questions. Mr. Daigle, any input or thoughts on the subdivision plan? Nope. Thank you, sir. Mr. Kirschner, any questions, concerns? Are the concerns of the board understandable to you and your team?
Yep, all of the conditions recommended by Jim, I find agreeable and pretty much exactly what I was expecting. Just for the board's information, lot 3 is the one that's undersized for a 5-bedroom lot, so it only has 40,000 square feet, where we need 50 in order to provide a 5-bedroom. And that was just a simple oversight, but my intent is to tweak the lot layout so that it has that sufficient lot area, but that will be addressed one way or another. But that is my expectation.
All right. I have no one in the audience with their hands raised. If there's no further discussion from the board, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the subdivision conditionally,
Mhm.
as long as the applicant addresses the nitrogen loading questions. The activities on site did not create dust,
Mhm.
noise, or odor. No wood waste buried on site. All
I see.
detention and retention basins shall minimize standing water,
Mhm.
and the proposed sewage disposal systems shall be designed in compliance with Title V and the Littleton Board of Health regulations, and a permit for each system must be issued by the Board of Health.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Jennifer on it, vote yes.
and the chair votes yes. Mr. Kirshner, good luck with planning board.
Thank you all.
And we will ask Francis and Brenda to just send a memo over to planning board with the results of our vote and the conditions that we've put forward, just so they have them for their meeting when you present to them, just so they have them before.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks,
All
sir.
right,
We
have a good night.
appreciate your time.
Thanks.
All right. We are at 7:27. We have a 7:25 meeting to discuss the Title V waiver agreement process. This is an ongoing open item. I'm not sure if anyone has any new discussion points on that this evening.
I do not, and I'm assuming that Jim and Attorney Gibbons were able to connect with their shared system agreement and get that all approved. I think this is just hanging on to our old agenda item.
I was going to say, so yeah, it really is kind of two items that are kind of running in parallel. We have the waiver agreement process, which I think is actually at this point has been resolved. The process is in place. We have documentation tools. That piece is in place. So I think it's on there as a process piece, which has already been resolved. And really it's looking at the Stephen Street challenge that had come up. So as an update, we did get feedback from town council with some comments. They've been forwarded to Jim and Francis for any input from our side of folks to then go to Attorney Gibbons. So town council has responded, and I'm not sure if Francis, Jim have worked together. It was probably Monday that I think we got notes back from town council, if it's gone back to the attorney yet. So we are close, as long as the attorney and the petitioners are comfortable with town council's edits. But I'm not sure, Francis, have you heard any feedback from Attorney Gibbons around 25 to 31 Stevens?
No, but I have a meeting with Jim tomorrow morning, so we'll send an update to the board after.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. So yes, town council has responded, and if it is not back in the attorney's hands for 25 to 31 Stevens, it will be shortly, but we have gotten town council's comments back. So.
Okay.
All right. We talked briefly about the ID decision support tool. We don't really have any new data, but we have kind of given a brief update. But yes, flu, RSV are down in general. I don't have the specific numbers at the moment in front of me. COVID is still out there, pretty static, but still out there. We have put our 228 administrative matters item on hold. We do have, it's listed under correspondence. It's not listed as a public hearing. It is nomination of Inspector of Animals season in the Commonwealth. So it's kind of one of those funny overlaps that the Inspector of Animals is generally appointed by the Board of Health or the Commissioner of Health in the city, but the Animal Control Officer is a law enforcement position, so that falls under. So it's kind of two things running in parallel. However, so the Board of Health does have the responsibility to nominate a inspector of animals. We do have an application to continue our existing inspector of animals, which should be Phyllis Tower, who is a shared resource with us and Boxborough. I have heard in the wind, although I've not heard exactly, that it sounds like we're expanding our consortium, our team of animal control and animal control officers, animal inspection group a little bit with our communities, but I believe Phyllis is still our designated nominee. I'm not sure, with it not being a public hearing, I'm not sure we necessarily need to have a public hearing for the nomination of the inspector of animals. It does need to be to the state by April 1st. So if someone had a very strong opinion otherwise, we could table this to our next meeting. I'm just not sure if we really need to do that. My gut is I don't think we probably need to, but yes, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Chair, Phyllis has been the inspector for, I think, quite some time. And I think we'd be just fine to go ahead and nominate her for another term.
All right, we have a nomination on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a nomination and a second to nominate Phyllis Tower as our inspector of animals for the town of Littleton. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Kevin Baker,
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Gino Fratelloni,
Jennifer Owens say yes.
and the chair votes yes. So I do know that Diane Corey in the clerk's office had forwarded the required paperwork for that to Brenda and Francis, I believe. It may have only gone to Brenda, but if you haven't seen it, Francis, you'll see it soon, I'm sure. Regarding that, there was a demographic correction that is basically a copy of last year's paperwork. So it still has Mr. Baker listed as chair rather than Mr. Kane. So that's a
I will update
minor
that,
grammatical
Mr. Kane.
correction.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. And so, yeah, I think we'll ask Brenda or Francis. I forget if we actually need to sign the form or if the action of the board's vote is adequate. I can't.
I believe, Mr. Chair, you do need to sign that. So I will correct that with the update of your name and, 1 minute, please.
Mr. Chair, are we allowed to nominate Mr. Daigle to sign that on our behalf?
Oh, yeah, well, there you go.
I bet we could. So I just pulled up the form again. So I'm looking at, we have inspector of animals and their demographic information, any changes. We have the nominating authority, which at the moment has Kevin Baker, Board of Health Chair. However, it has Ryan for our assistant town administrator as email contact for that. So, but I actually don't see a place for us to sign it. It has our information, and then it has a place for the nominated inspector to sign and basically accept the nomination. And then a signature from the Division of Animal Health of the state approving their appointment. So I actually don't see a place on the nomination form for us to sign.
So I could write up something about how the board voted at this meeting and sign it and send it with the rest of the paperwork.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably adequate. I don't see a place for us to sign on here. I think the action of the board, not minutes or note or memo, is probably adequate. And yeah, just make the demographic corrections to change Kevin Baker and update the email address to either my address, I would say,
Sure.
or the health at Littleton, Mass generic department email address, which is probably the better choice of just addressing it to the board in general. Unless someone has other thoughts. Francis, as our new director, do you have any workflow process thoughts of how, I'm not going to put you on the spot, think about how you may want to utilize the generic health at email address, what kind of things you'd like to utilize that for, whether that's the primary contact for Board of Health business, or if you'd like to do something different. So put that in the back of your head for the next week or two of how you'd like to think about workflow and and incoming communications and pieces. So, all right, we have nominated our continued inspector of animals for the town of Littleton. We are at 7:35. Do we have any board member updates, comments, discussion? Mr. Baker.
The only thing I wanted to address is the model well regulations. I had a conversation with Mr. Daigle about those, and he is going to work them as per the comments from our last meeting regarding the geothermal wells, and a couple other comments that were on there, as well as taking a look at some of the comments from Mr. Chobach, and try and incorporate all that into a final document for the board to take a read and study it, and then potentially vote on something. So just want to let you know that that hasn't fallen off the radar, and we're continuing to work on that.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Francis, thank you for taking that on as early homework. We appreciate it. It's been a project that we've been working on for a while with obviously new model regs. Every community has their own take on them. And, as a mixed use community between industrial and Amazon warehouses and big corporations and a large number of farms of many types, agricultural farms as well as livestock, and it's a little bit different than many communities. So this is appreciated to have your input and help to kind of bring all these stakeholders together to make the best choices for the future. Kevin Baker, thank you for spearheading this far, and I'm sure you will be a great resource again for the transition of that project. So thank you, sir. All right, any other notes, comments, or board member input?
The only thing I was going to suggest is that we take a poll and perhaps set a meeting for a couple members of the board to meet with Mr. Daigle in the office and go over just some action items. I know Mr. Wason has a list of things that we've just been sort of collecting over the years that we'd like to try and address and make a plan to move forward. I know Mr. Daigle's already dug his heels in to take a look at OpenGov and some other systems that we have. And however we can spend our time to help him, help us, and help Littleton, I think that would be beneficial. So when we have a full board, maybe we can chat about when that can happen and who wants to be involved.
No, absolutely. We certainly don't want to overwhelm. There's been plenty of opportunities for growth and introspection here in town of how best to serve our community and our residents and improve our processes, figure out what works well and keep it going, and what things we might be able to do a little bit better, what things we can add and that we haven't really been able to do much of. So this is a great opportunity, and I think we've got that short, medium, and long-term kind of goals pieces, and right now we're on day 3, so we're just happy to have you here and that you've been able to find town hall, find the bathroom, find your office. Like that's a good first couple days right there, and certainly we've already thrown plenty of work your way. So I did hear that you already went out on your first visit on Monday. I forget what the event was, but I did hear there was a call of concern from somebody, and that yes, you had already gone out on your first visit. You and Jim went out to visit somebody for an event on Monday, I believe. So I was happy to hear that you were already out playing in town and getting to meet people. So, but yeah, no, I absolutely agree that we kind of get together and put together some open projects that we need to address, kind of figure out where they fall on the priority list. We do need to work with the opiate settlement fund, work with our elderly human services cohort, our partners, our law enforcement partners, the community stakeholders in general, that figure out how best to move forward with those settlement funds to address our community needs. I would even backtrack up, work with our stakeholders to really identify what our community needs are, and then figure out how to utilize the financial resources that are available to address them. So we have lots of homework to do around community needs assessment and then start developing an action plan. So there's plenty of good hard work to do. So that's okay. So yeah, I say for our next meeting, if we can put it on for a bit of a open discussion around open projects, priorities, kind of beyond day-to-day operational priorities, but kind of the bigger projects and goals kind of piece. And certainly we can look if we have some time at a Saturday morning or something retreat of just really doing some goal setting and bigger picture stuff. We've like so many groups, we spend a lot of time working on the day-to-day pieces that we kind of forget. Where do we want to be in 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? It's like all of us. You start diapering your kids, next thing you know, they're graduating high school and go, what happened? Hold on, how did that time go by? It's same thing happens with boards and communities as well. Suddenly it's like, oh yeah, we probably should have looked at this 5 years ago. We didn't. So thank you again for bringing that forward, Mr. Baker, for as a great reminder. I agree. We should put that on the agenda for the next one. All right. Any other comments, concerns, member input, Mr. Baker?
No, I'd be happy to make the motion to adjourn if
I
that
second.
is the next task.
As I say, we have no one in the audience. We have no public input. We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Roll call vote. Mr. Baker?
Kevin Baker votes yes.
Mr. Fratelloni?
We did it pretty good. Thank you. Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you, Littleton, for being here tonight. Francis,
Yes.
welcome to the town of Littleton. We are
Thank
so
you.
excited to have you. We hope you'll be here for a long and happy and healthy and successful career because